Welcome to today's workshop. I appreciate everyone for joining us. Excited to get started. Um, Thank you for taking the time out of your day this morning, this afternoon, wherever your time zone is for joining us. As people begin to trickle in, I just want to give an invite to you all to drop a brief introduction in the chat. Just maybe share a little bit about who you are, where you're joining us from in your organization. And as you do so, I wanted to take a moment to again thank you for joining us and for taking the time out of your day to sit here with us in this next hour. I'm Grace Litsu, and I'm Taproot's volunteer community manager. And yes, I'm behind all the reminder emails, so I apologize if that felt like too much. But I'm so lucky to be a part of our team here at Taproot and to spend every day working with individuals who are passionate about making sure social good organizations such as yourselves have access to the capacity building resources you need to carry out your missions and to serve the communities we all know and love. Before I introduce Traci and get us kicked off for the day, I just wanted to run through a few logistical items. So we are recording this event, and we will be sharing the recording following the event. So no need to scramble to capture every last detail. Traci will also share instructions to use a fillable workbook, which I will put in the chat, but we'll also make sure to share that out following the event in the follow-up email. We're so excited to see so many faces join us today. So due to the high volume of people here, we would encourage you to stay on mute if possible throughout the call. Again, thank you for dropping those introductions into the chat. Keep them coming. We love to see an active chat, and we encourage the use of the chat during our conversation. You can use it to ask questions, and we'll do our best to keep track of those questions and address them in the call. But if we're unable to get to your question, we'll do our best to follow up with you as well. Thank you for your attention and your participation today. And I'll go ahead and let the floor be for Traci. Thank you, Traci.
Thanks, Grace. And thank you to Taproots. I was just telling Grace and Brianna earlier that I love this type of work because I get to do what I love, but do it for a group of people who can really benefit and take any information that I give to them and use it in a meaningful way. So I love these opportunities. I get really excited and I invest a lot of time to take my knowledge in the corporate business world and apply it to nonprofit stuff. So thanks for joining me. I'll give you a little introduction to myself so that you understand who I am and where I come from. I work for a very large organization and work as a consultant for Fortune 500 companies across the world who are looking to expand on their strategy and customer experience. So I talk to them a lot about their marketing strategy, going out into the world in their communications and the technology they use. So you can look me up on LinkedIn and reach out, connect. I love to know who you are and what you do. All right, so we're gonna get into it. We'll go through 3 different topics. One is identifying and segmenting potential donors. One's crafting compelling stories and messages. And then the last one is leveraging technology. Susie. So we're going to go into each section, and in each section we'll have a poll, and then we'll actually have an exercise at the end that you'll be able to do on your on your own time. So let's kick things off with a question. What is your biggest challenge when it comes to donor engagement? Is it finding the right people? Keeping them connected? Getting them to convert? Go ahead and enter that into the chat and we can have everyone look at what's going on in the world. In this next session that we're going to go into, we are going to help you tackle some of these issues and look at segmenting smarter, telling better and more personalized stories, and then building intentional journeys to engage your donors more. So in this next session, I'm not going to be doing a networking session. I'm not going to introduce you to rich friends or give you the addresses of people to go knock on their doors. We're actually going to look at what data you have on your donors and how to segment them in a way so that you can understand behavioral signals, engagement patterns, and communication preferences. And you're going to be able to connect more meaningfully and respectfully with these people who are most likely going to respond, engage, and grow with you. So think of this as a strategy to optimize your reach, use your limited resources wisely, and ultimately amplify your fundraising efforts by meeting donors where they are in the donor stages. So this next section is really about relevance, not exclusion, and it sets the stage for better experiences for both your supporters and your team. So let's jump in. So the poll is going. Grace, I can't see, so I'm assuming we've got it going. But really the question is, relating back to my work, and I work with a lot of retailers who have the same questions of how do we get our customers to buy more? How do we get our customers to convert? How do we get people to really be loyal to our brand? And the question that I'm asking you is because this is direct experience that you feel on the ground as a consumer, and you should really be applying it to your nonprofit work. You don't buy everything that your favorite brands advertise to you, just like your donors aren't going to necessarily donate to you every time you ask. And so segmenting your donors in a way that is going to allow you to create a more personalized experience. You're going to be able to use your resources more efficiently, and you're going to be able to customize a story that means more and resonates with them. And then I love this quote by Meredith Hill: when you speak to everyone, you speak to no one. And this is really big. Again, retail is one that I'm going to lean on here because they do such great work as far as segmentation, because they have to know their customers so well in order for them to see the right color, the right size, the right thing that they feel is going to get them to convert. And so when you dial into understanding your customers at their level, you're going to be able to speak to them personally, which ultimately is going to increase the engagement and get them to a place where they're going to want to donate more often to you. And it's really about giving the right message to the right people at the right time on the right channel. And so we really want to ensure that you are segmenting accordingly and developing a message that's going to resonate with them. And to give you an example of what I mean by this, if we're looking at a nonprofit who is running an urban tree conservation organization, and they're going to want to identify 3 different potential donors, they could look at maybe local business owners. Another one would be environmentally minded affluent donors. Another one is going to be individual donors in the targeted neighborhoods who would be directly impacted by the vision. And as you identify those different segments, then you're going to be able to adapt the conversation, the messaging, the content that you provide to them in a way that's going to be more meaningful and gives them a message that they could say, yes, I'm behind this. I want to be there to support this organization. And if we go a little bit further, you're also going to be able to identify those channels that they're going to most likely respond to. Business owners are busy and they don't necessarily want to talk to someone for 20 minutes on the phone. They want an email that gives information and the link so that they can donate and do it quickly. Versus an environmentally minded affluent donor, They may want to know how many trees will be planted in the different, with different levels of donations, or maybe with reoccurring donations. And they might want to see those updates about the impact. They might want to see the stats on a quarterly basis. But they don't want you to send text messages. Just keep it to email so that they can read it. And they're going to want to see pretty emails where they see beautiful trees with flowers and tree canopies. Whereas your individual donor in a targeted area, they may only be able to donate one time when you're in their neighborhood, but they may want to know how the tree is going to increase their home values, or how the tree canopies will be able to protect their neighborhood a little bit better. And those conversations might get them to convert and donate to you. And they actually might prefer a phone call or a text when you're in the neighborhood so that they know that you're coming, whereas the other groups don't. So really, segmentation is this idea that you're not just going in and blasting everyone with the same message on the same channel. You're able to identify them, see where they are, see what they're doing, see what makes sense to them, and then be able to adapt your messaging accordingly and put it into technology in a way that's going to allow you to reduce the time spent on communicating with them. And it goes back to that polling question. You probably don't buy everything that your favorite retailer sends to you because you don't need it, not the right time, too expensive, not the right product. If you're a woman and you want, and they're sending you men's stuff, you're not going to buy it. So segmentation in retail is huge because they have to know you so personally in order to get the right product in front of you. And it goes with nonprofit work as well. You have to get the right message in front of the right customers at the right time on the right channel. So how do we find those different segmentations? You probably have a bunch of donors. You probably have a bunch of audiences that you can look at right now, and you could be able to lump them in different categories based on their characteristics. What is their past giving behavior? What is their capacity to give? What are engagement signals that would trigger their ability to donate to you? Do they have the same shared values or mission alignment? These are very basic characteristics, and we could spend hours going into other identifiers. But take a moment, think about those things with your donors and see how you could start lumping them together in different segments. Another thing I want to bring up is data sources. Some of you may be working out of spreadsheets. Some of you may be working out of more advanced technology like CRMs. You have info. I know you have info if you're joining this meeting because you're probably on LinkedIn or you're getting emails. So the data is there. It's a matter of being able to identify it. What info do you have? What info do you need? And how do you manage it? And before you could start dreaming up more complex solutions, think about how you are organizing that information. How are you combining it? How are you viewing it in order to create those segmentations? Moving on to segmentation strategies. Here's a different way of looking at different categories. So if you're familiar with RFM analysis, that's where you're looking at the recency, the frequency, and the monetary scores of your donors, being able to categorize them in that fashion. Maybe there's donor personas. Are you looking at a grandmother who has 6 grandchildren in the local preschools, and you're wanting to target her versus targeting the parents or targeting the teachers of those preschools? Looking at that behavior-based segments. So are they donating quarterly? Are they donating monthly? Are they donating one time and then moving on? The channel preferences. Younger people may want SMS. Older people may want email. Business owners may want a phone call followed up with an email. Channel preferences are huge when you're talking about the right message at the right time, because if it's not coming on the right channel, you're not getting that message to them. And then demographics. Obviously, you're looking at age, location, zip codes, maybe woman versus man, children versus elderly individuals. All of these are great ways to strategize your data and be able to create segmentations for your own organization. So you all should have been able to download a workbook, and it has 3 different tabs on it. And this is really meant to be the tool that you get to take home with you if you're not already home, and be able to put into place some of these ideas and strategies so that you can execute them in your own organization. So we are going to start with the first tab, which is on segmentation. And I provided a few examples for you to review and get an idea of how you can categorize your segments and then create identifiers within them. And we only have an hour, so you know, no expectation that you have to do it right here on this call. We're not going to be checking your homework or grading. But when you have time, go through it. Maybe use your team to help you understand what should this audience name be? What are these identifiers? And then you could put it in the workbook and start evolving your strategy from there. So I'll stop there. Grace, any questions we want to address or anything we want to pull out from the chat that we'd want to spend a couple minutes on?
I'm not seeing any questions so far, just a lot of good introductions and answers to the question you posed at the beginning about wanting to get started with donor cultivation and finding new donors. I did just share the workbook in the chat, and you should be able to download it there and follow along. I'll make sure to share it again, but just as a reminder, we'll follow it up in the email if you're not able to access it right now. Keep the questions coming too. We're happy to answer those. Oh, one just came in just briefly here.
Yeah.
What if you are a new organization and just doing its first fundraising campaign?
Oh, that's pretty awesome. You're starting from the ground zero. You're starting from a place where you could start thinking through what data you want to collect. And we're actually going to get into some of that in the technology piece of it, so in the last section. But you should be thinking about what data you want to be collecting and then start finding ways to collect it. There's a bunch of different tools that you can use in order to collect that information, pull it into a CRM. And then from there, then you can start creating those audiences. But at the very high level, when you are starting from net zero, you know, do some of the easy stuff. Can you segment them based on location? Can you segment them based on age? You know, can you segment them based on the idea of they might be able to donate more or less? Put some of those in place, and maybe test some of your theories. If you think one group is going to donate more, see if they do in this first event. Hopefully that helps.
Awesome. I think that was a wonderful answer. We do have one more, and it's more about readiness. How do you know if you're even ready to start seeking out donors or getting into this space of segmenting?
I don't think it's ever too early to start segmenting. Of course, if you don't have any data, sure, yeah, you probably aren't going to be able to segment as well as those who have years of data. But again, being able to start from the ground zero of collecting that data, you're going to be able to you're going to be able to go out and you know, use ChatGPT or Gemini to ask, like, what data should I be collecting? And then from there, start building your messaging accordingly so that you can collect it. Start doing surveys when you go to promote an event or go online to get information. Have people send you that information if they're buying tickets or if they're subscribing to your Instagram page or TikTok. collect that information up front rather than having to go back and ask for it.
That's amazing. And hopefully this workbook will also help with that exercise. Thank you, Traci.
Yeah. Yep. Alrighty. So I'm going to make the assumption that everyone likely has a mission statement or a mission that they are basing their work off of. If you don't, that's okay. You'll get there. But in this case, for the next section, we are going to be really looking at taking your mission or the impact that your organization is providing and crafting a compelling message and stories to get your audience segments to take action. So really getting them to convert from just being supporters to being donors. So we've got another polling question. Have you ever made a donation to an organization because you saw a commercial, a reel, a post, or a letter that made you sad or cry? I'll let that one go. I know I have. You put a Humane Society commercial on TV, and I'm going to be finding that link to donate to them. But when we come to why storytelling works, people really don't give to programs. They give to stories. Stories spark empathy. They humanize your mission. They are really how people make sense of the world. Facts will inform, but the stories are what inspire us to do things. So they help donors emotionally connect with your mission in ways that data wouldn't be able to do. Emotions also derive giving. So when you think about that sad commercial where Sarah McLachlan's song is on the background and you have emotion, you have that urge to help out in some way. So people will give when they feel something, when there's hope or urgency, joy or empathy. People are likely going to want to support you if you can bring that emotion out in them. A compelling story will build the empathy and they make them want to be part of that solution. Stories also make your donor the hero. The reality is people donate because they want to be part of the cause. They want to be part of your mission. And so if they're able to take that action of donating, they feel like they are the person who's really helping out. And that is the case. They are supporting in a monetary fashion. So good storytelling isn't about your organization or telling everybody how many great things you do. It's about the impact that the donor can make possible. And your role is to guide them. Their role is to be that hero who, when they donate, they're making that impact. Stories are also remembered and repeated. So a donor is more likely to share a powerful story than a stat. So you analytic people out there, if you just want to show numbers and stats, that's great. There's a place for you, and we'll get to that in the technology piece of it. But when it comes to memorable stories that will resonate with donors, that's when you're going to see your fundraising efforts really shoot up. Memorable stories will multiply your reach. So, how do we tailor your message to your audience? We just walked through segmentations, and really were able to identify some core groups of people that you could start looking at. Now start looking at their core motivations. If you are aligning that message with motivation, you're going to be able to give them a personal connection that allows them to feel like they are the reason behind the impact. They're making your mission happen by doing that action you're wanting them to do. Customize your tone and language. Depending on your segment, you could be using formal or casual language. If you're talking to a business, maybe that's a time to do more formal. If you're talking to teenagers, that's maybe when you want to adjust and make it more casual. And think about those things when you're drafting up an email, when you're writing a letter, or when you're posting on one of the social medias. Your tone should match the audience that you're targeting. As well as urgency or hope. These are also emotional triggers that you want to be thinking about in your messaging. You know, are you giving them that feeling that they need to do it now, or that if they do it now, there's hope that things can be better. And lastly, sorry, not lastly, but also to think about the channel variation. When you are using tone on Instagram versus email, maybe think about who would be reading those. Is it going to be, younger people on Instagram reading an Instagram post versus older individual on email reading that? Adjust accordingly, depending on the channel that you're using. And then personalization. Again, if we're talking about retailers who are very successful, they are successful because they're able to personalize and customize messaging accordingly. They have set the expectation that you should know the person's name that you're messaging, and we can owe that to all of the amazing retailers out there, as that they have set a really high level of expectations for consumers these days, and everybody in the world is reaching for that type of personalization that retailers have got into, of knowing your name, knowing your size, knowing your preferred colors, or your preferred garments that you'd be purchasing, knowing what type of cars you're wanting. Retailers have this down, and there's ways for you to do this as well. And it is about collecting that data and then using it appropriately within your segmentations. And then there's another aspect of dynamic content. Again, we'll get into this in the technology piece of it, but you don't have to send the same email with all the same content over and over. You can customize it, you can adjust it, and bring up different photos based on who you're sending it to, sending different stats based on your segmentations. These are all things that are allowing you to customize your messaging to your audience. Another piece that we want to be thinking about is aligning your message to the journey stage. So are they first-time donors? Are they repeat donors? Are they major donors? How do you adjust the message so that they feel like they are seen and heard, and you're not just sending them a welcome email even though they've been donating to you for the last 12 months? So align your message accordingly and ensure that you are understanding where they are at in the relationship with your organization, and put them in a journey that is going to allow your message to really resonate with them and allow them to be that hero. Another piece of storytelling is using supportive content. So it is one thing to just have words in an email, or drafting a letter that to be sent out. Your message may be really good and compelling, but what's going to put it over the edge and make it feel more personal and more custom is by including some additional content, whether it's photos and videos, personalization as far as first name or the amount that they have already contributed, testimonials, beneficiary spotlights, or branded infographics or images. And this is where you could put in the stats to show them the impact that they're doing. Again, really making sure that your story is not just words, but a multimedia messaging platform, so that you are able to show your branding, show the personal events that they went to, or they may have missed because they didn't sign up in time. These are ways that are going to bring your story to the next level, which is going to increase the engagement. So looking at your workbooks again, we have another exercise for you. And this is really about building your story using an identified segment. So if we go back to that example that I used with the urban tree conservation, we found an audience that we want to maybe create a persona for so that we could put a human aspect to it. So we're going to call this individual James, and he's middle-aged with a fairly good job, so he has the means to donate. And he has a family life, but he's passionate about climate change and he wants to build a better future, especially in his neighborhood. So if we're able to create that persona, now we're putting a human person at the end of that message, and that we can really relate with James and better understand how we are going to connect with him. So now we need to identify their why. What is James' personal experience? Like, what is the reason he's going to want to donate or want to get engaged with your organization? And the belief in the mission, if he's really wanting to uplift his neighborhood to plant more trees, he's going to believe in your mission. So we can hone in on that idea, hone in on the mission, that you guys are aligned on those values. Next, map their first connection to you. So in this case, James came in through an Instagram video that was targeted to him, and he clicked through because he wanted to learn more. He then we are going to highlight that moment of impact, and after donating, James received a thank you video from students at the school he helped support. He shared it on social media, and so now he's actually expanding your reach to his network, but it made him the hero. And then that fifth question, what keeps them engaged? So there's a few different examples there. So if we want James to donate in the future, what are the things that we really need to hone in on? What are the things that we need to identify as far as messaging, so that we can keep him engaged and keep him donating and following us on the different platforms? Well, he needs regular updates, and he wants to see what impact he's making. And then next steps. So what are we going to do now? We know James is passionate about our mission. We know that he is involved, and he's wants to continue to expand the work that we're doing. So let's bring him into an event. Let's have him come support us in person as a volunteer. And now he's not only a donor, but now he's an advocate. He's volunteering with you. We have converted somebody from a passive donor to an active donor and volunteer. So now in your workbook, you're going to see that story evolve from the 6 different components. And my hope is that you guys can take the story and apply it to one of your segments. And then you're being able to craft that story that then you're going to be able to apply into your technology and your journeys, so that you can then start messaging to get people like James and other donors to really engage and feel like they're part of your mission and the heroes of what you're doing. All right, I'll stop there. Grace, any questions, anything we want to address?
Yeah, there's been a couple more that have come in. I think right around this, I don't want to push us too far back, but one of the questions around messaging is about specific messaging around events or about specific programmings. Do you recommend kind of creating a Kickstarter for a specific program, or maybe running a specific campaign around something like that?
I think the story needs to back it up. I mean, I Kickstarters and messaging, those are always applicable. But if you could create the story, if you're able to work through the exercise and identify who is the audience that this is going to resonate with, and then build out that story accordingly, then by all means, yes. Create those things, allow them the platform and the opportunity to engage with you. But I do think that it's important to align the story with the audience that would be involved in that event or that programming.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that kind of leans into another question that might be a good transition since I know what's coming next. But um, the question is, how do you create detailed strategies for hundreds of people? So you go through and
Yeah,
you have this kind of journey and you look at that, but we don't want to do it for like just one person. So what
yeah.
does that look like at scale? And the question also involved using software.
Yeah. So yeah, this is a great transition, but I do want to address this question because again, you know that there's going to be a big gamut of people on this call where you are looking at hundreds versus millions, and the segmentation that we talked about in the first section is really about. It doesn't matter how many uh, donors or how many um, members of your audience you have. It's really about categorize them in a way that now you could sort the stories and the messaging accordingly. And so in my work working with retailers and working with large companies, we are talking millions, if not billions of customers and subscribers, if you will, to their messaging. And we have to lump them in buckets so that we can message accordingly. And of course, we're not going to want to message everybody with the same message. We're going to want to message, women from 30 to 40 who live in urban cities differently than what we're going to want to message men 20 to 28 who live in more rural areas. And so when you think about that, it's not so much that you are creating a literal one-to-one messaging so that you are messaging everybody individually a different message. It's that you are getting it really close so it feels like they are being seen, but doing it in a strategic and effective way that you're not wasting time, energy, and resources to do so. And so that transitions really well into leveraging technology and tools to optimize donor engagement. So polling question, have you, what tasks and what work related tasks are you using AI for? So I would love to hear this personally because this is an emerging tech within the corporate world where we really are wanting to understand how AI is being used, and then how do you apply it to the technologies so that you are able to elevate your message, elevate your efficiencies in creating and delivering the message, and all the different ways to make everybody more efficient in the world. All right. So jumping in to leveraging technology. So technology really powers engagement. We are in a world where if you are using technology appropriately, you are going to see your engagement increase. It allows you to do more with less. You're able to personalize at scale. You are able to talk to millions of people as if you're talking to them individually, like we just discussed. And it also turns your casual supporters into lifelong donors. So being able to communicate with them regularly and personally is going to want to keep them engaged with you. So really the five big components of leveraging technology are technology makes engagement scalable. So you can't personally connect with every donor, but you can use technology to help scale that feeling of personal connection. And there's marketing automation tools and CRMs that allow you to do this in a way that, it takes seconds to build out a segmentation that you can custom a story to. Um, and when you leverage these tools, you're going to be able to talk to them more often, create that deeper relationship, and do less manual work. The second one is personalization drives results. So again, if you're sending that same message to everybody in your listserv, you may not be doing your organization justice. Like you need to be customizing that because you're going to see increased engagement rates when it comes to that messaging. You're going to see more click-throughs and converts which means they are donating to you, and you're going to see your fundraising targets grow. So data and segmentation tools that you can find are really able to tailor your ask, your thank yous, your stories to individual donors versus just blasting everybody with that same story that may not resonate with them. And this personalization, we said it before, it's really about making those donors feel seen and valued and making them the hero. If they're put in that position where it's just not just another number, it's somebody that you know and love, they're going to feel good about that. And when you do personalization, you're going to see higher engagement and more frequent and larger gifts. The second one, or the third, sorry, is better insights equals smarter strategy. So technology gives you real-time insights into what's working and then also what's not working. You're able to see who's opening your messages. You're able to see what donors are likely going to lapse. You're going to be able to see what content drives conversions, drives gifting, drives clicks, drives people to events. And then you're going to be able to make data-informed decisions about ways to optimize your messaging and campaigns over time, which is ultimately going to allow you to see more funds come through your organization. Tech helps retain donors. So most nonprofits lose over half their donors each year. And when you are using technology appropriately, you can reduce those numbers. You're able to automate welcome journeys to keep the new donors engaged. You're able to provide real-time thank you triggers so that people know that their money was received and it's appreciated. And then you're going to be able to use predictive analytics to help you spot and re-engage at-risk donors. So if you had somebody who donated a year ago during the holiday season, you can use predictive intelligence to say, hey, maybe this individual you need to wait until the season to do it again, or this individual should be messaged quarterly in order to get the optimized gifting from them. When you are using technology to retain donors, you're going to see increased retention, which ultimately equals sustained revenue and growth. And then finally, meeting donors where they are. This is a big one when you talk about how donors are receiving your message, what they're thinking when they're getting that. You are able to adjust your emails, your social media, your SMS, all those things. You are able to target them where they are as far as what they're looking at. So if they don't use Instagram, but they're using TikTok, you can adjust and you can message them on TikTok so they're not missed. If they don't check emails, but they do take text messages, adjusting so that you're speaking to them on that channel that they preferred. And then another one is, when you are talking about age, are you taking that channel in consideration? Are you messaging older generations in ways that they're actually going to be able to see it, like on Facebook or through email, versus the younger generations, which probably don't check email as often or may not get on Facebook. So being able to adjust and meet them where they are is going to broaden your reach and create that deeper relevance so that you can expand your reach and add more supporters to your list. Really, the bottom line is technology isn't just a nice to have these days. It's a force multiplier. It allows you to do more with less, personalize at scale, and turn casual supporters into lifelong donors. So at this point, technology should be in your budgets, and you should be able to understand how much technology you need to use in order to increase in order to see the return on investment in your fundraising. So examples of leveraging technology. I wanted to list out some of the tools out there so that if you don't already have some of these things, you can go do your research and find what's going to be useful within your organization. So donor management or CRMs are really where you are able to centralize your data and be able to harmonize it in a way so that you can make those segmentations and personalize messaging accordingly. When you talk about engagement or marketing strategy or platforms, these are the tools that allow you to send messages on the different channels through email, SMS, social media, all those things. So the CRMs and the engagement platforms are really where you're merging that customer data to that messaging that you're wanting to send, and being able to create those segmentations in the background will allow you to plug it in and connect the two platforms accordingly. Then there's also the fundraising and event platforms where you're able to capture the data that you get from people attending your events, plug it into your CRM, and then communicate it efficiently through the marketing platforms. Data and predictive analytics are tools that allow you to assess the data, make decisions about what donors are going to be doing what, or how they've interacted with you in the past, what have they given you in the past, and their likelihood of donating to you in the future. And those top four items really play well into each other, where if you are able to integrate them all accordingly, now you have a full ecosystem of technology that is going to support your efforts. And that's really where you're going to see engagement with your donors expand. The last two are really more about optimizing your messaging. So storytelling tools like Canva or Storyvine, these are tools that allow you to build out messaging, whether it's an email template or create a story with images, so that you can then plug it into the engagement platforms. And then the AI platforms, these are ways that you can tailor messaging accordingly, so that you could say, write this story in a way that grandma in Arkansas is going to feel like she's can help support our organization. So when you are using the storytelling tools and the AI platforms, you are really leveling up your messaging in a way that you are tailoring it and personalizing it more accordingly to your segmentations. Now, I want to get into the importance of centralizing data, because this is a really big one. You could collect all the data in the world, but if you're not centralizing it and organizing it in a way, you're not doing yourself justice. You're wasting time. You're wasting valuable information that could be applied to your strategy. So centralizing data is critical for nonprofits at this point, because it directly impacts your ability to engage with donors effectively, and it creates operational efficiency. You're able to grow sustainability, and by doing all these things, you're able to get a complete picture of every supporter. When data lives in silos, like in your CRM, but it's not integrated into your engagement platform, you're going to miss some key messaging that you need to have. If you're not getting that predictive analytics into your CRM, you're going to miss key elements that allow you to identify high potential donors. Centralizing data just really gives you that 360 view of your donors. That's going to allow you to better personalize and build strong relationships. Again, you're going to improve your donor retention. So centralizing your data allows you to send timely thank yous and follow-ups. It allows you to advertise events accordingly, so that if it's in the area, they can make it, and they have time to put it on their calendar. It really just creates a more consistent engagement, which equals a higher lifetime value. And working smarter, not harder. That you're all busy. You wouldn't be here if you weren't learning how to work more efficiently in the world. So applying this concept of centralizing your data allows you to use the tools that we just listed, so that you could do it in a way that you're able to use more time strategizing about your donors rather than chasing down data and figuring out how to implement it into technology. And then finally, making data-driven decisions. We talked a little bit about emotion drives funds. Well, data-driven decisions really allow you to confidently plan and builds a stronger return on investment when you are spending time and effort, not only in technology, but with events or campaigns within your organization. And last but not least, I didn't add it to this, but when you are centralizing your data, you're really building a more secure data structure that falls into compliance. So if you're working off of a spreadsheet and you're collecting people's names, phone numbers, address, if a hacker were to get this information, you're compromising a lot there. You're compromising the trust of your donors. Having it into a system that you have to log into that not everyone can access gives you the confidence that you're following the compliance policies put out by government and policymakers so that we're not jeopardizing potential donors' information. I do want to dive in. We spent some time talking about storytelling, so I want to dive into really utilizing those engagement platforms in a way that can increase engagement. So if you're using something like Salesforce or MailChimp or HubSpot, you're going to have these features that are out of the box from segmentations, automatic segmentations using predictive intelligence or A/B testing, send time optimization, personalization fields, dynamic content, and also journey builders. And we'll get into that in a second. But if you have any of these products at home, you have tools within the system that are allowing you to engage more deeply with your donors. And I highly encourage you to do some research on these different tools so that you can apply them to your strategy. So we went through the technology. I always like to emphasize that technology is only as good as the strategy that you put into it. And donor journey mapping is a way to strategize the stages and touch points of your donors during the journey in which they interact with your organization. So I always like to take my clients through an exercise where we map out the different elements that they want to be able to identify within their segments and speak to them on the different donor stages, the different touch points, the different channels, timing, messaging, because this is really going to build that deeper long-term relationships. And it's going to help improve donor retention and satisfaction. And it helps support better storytelling so that you're really able to personalize the stories to the appropriate audiences within your segmentations. So we're almost out of time, and there's a lot more that I could go into these different elements, but there's a lot of ways we can have conversations later, or you can do some research on your own to be able to figure out how you can identify these elements on your own and map them out accordingly. I want to get into walking you through that final exercise where you can create a journey of your own with the segmentations and stories that you've created in the other tabs, and be able to build out a strategy that you can then take and implement into the technologies that you're using. And so this is a journey mapping table. This is one that I use very often with my clients. I take these to retailers, I take them to media clients and financial service clients, and I say, all right, let's talk about how we're messaging your customers, and let's put it on paper so then we can set it up within your technology. And so you can see here that we go through 5 different touch points from email, phone call, printed letter, and we map out the purpose of the communication, the type of communication, the timing of communication, what content are we going to include? And then down at the bottom is the metrics. What are we seeing once we send this, and what does success look like so that we can measure against it? So I encourage you to start simple. Don't go too complex right out of the gate. But map one of your segments and use the data that you already have. Identify any gaps that you may need, any gaps that you may have. Where do donors fall off, and how can you close those gaps? And then start implementing these on your side so that you can start messaging them in a way that's really going to build that engagement and help retain your donors. So all that being said, we went through 3 different segments where we talked about donor engagement and why it's important. Well, it's important because it's directly tied to your fundraising targets. So if you are able to have higher engagement, you're going to see higher retention. Your more engaged donors are going to give more frequently and generously. Engagement is going to fuel advocacy and allow them to promote you to their network, which automatically expands who you're able to reach. And then engagement data that you get from the technology tools that you're using is going to guide better strategy so that you can make better decisions in the beginning. So in summary, to increase your engagement, you really need to meet donors where they are so that you can send them the right message at the right time on the right channel. And I feel strongly that you're going to be able to do this if you're able to segment your audiences accordingly and identify those high potential donors. Be able to create a story that resonates with them and allows them to feel that they are the hero within your mission. And then create journeys. So it's not just a one and done, somebody donates to you and they get one message, but they're actually able to travel with you across your journey as an organization, and they feel they can really support you, which is going to optimize their engagement and ultimately going back to more donations to your organization. With that, I think we have 1 minute left. I'll take any questions.
Oh, that was amazing, Tracy. I really appreciate you walking us through all that information. There's a couple of questions. I don't know that we have tons of time to get to, but I'll make sure I follow up with those. Um, and I really want to appreciate everyone again, and thank you for joining us today. This was part of our campaign to make sure that nonprofits in this time have the resources they need. We know that there's a lot of things that are in your minds as things are changing in the landscape, and we want to make sure that there's resources for that. So my colleague Brianna just dropped our 3 main kind of pushes or calls to action to make sure that we can continue to support you to the best of our ability. And one of those is a pulse survey. We want to make sure that our nonprofits are getting what they need in this time. And so if you would take a couple minutes and fill that out, we can continue to tailor events like this towards your needs and put some things together. And also just generally, if you have questions about Taproot and how we can support you, I encourage you to reach out to our roots, as we call ourselves, and send a message to our help desk. We're always available to support you. And yeah, well, I really appreciate everyone joining us today. Again, I'll follow up with the recording and the workbook. Thank you all.